Hello there, all my YouTubers. Thanks for joining me this first episode in 2024. I hope that you learned something today. I thank you so much for trying to educate yourself and making yourself a better landlord or maybe even a tenant. I hope you learned something. Thanks. Well, hello there. Welcome to My Life as a Landlord. I am Dr. Jen, and I'm so excited for you to join me today. Our first podcast in 2024. So as they say in Hawaii, haole makahiki ho, which means Happy New Year. You might have noticed that today is January 2nd. We have shifted our release days for the new podcast episodes to Tuesday. It seems that everybody is listening more during the week, and so we thought we would help with all of that listening and shift it to early in the week. So our weekly podcast is now going to be coming out on Tuesdays, which is cool. The other change is in 2023, I recorded 55 episodes with 6 guests, and that makes today's episode 56. So I'm jumping ahead. I did do 3 podcast extras and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and some of the other podcast platforms. It was counting along as we were doing it, and even though my numbering didn't match, it knew that we did record 55 podcasts. So today is episode number 56, entitled When Your Rental Isn't Renting. Oh my goodness, landlords out there, please do not panic. I'm recording this in the middle of winter, just about to be Christmas, and I know this is going to air January 2nd. What do you do when your rental isn't renting? And typically what new landlords do is they panic. They panic and they go, oh my gosh, I need somebody in there right now. I can't afford the mortgage. I can't afford this. I don't want it to be empty. For whatever reason, when the rental isn't renting, people can panic. But if you panic, what ends up happening? Many of you know this. You will likely start rushing your screening of your tenants. And what ends up happening is you get anyone in there with a pulse and a very good story, and then it becomes a bit of a nightmare. It can be a nightmare. Sometimes you get lucky and that you're okay, but going from a panic mode, just saying I need somebody in there, to making a big mistake and putting the wrong tenant in. So what do you do? What happens when your rental isn't renting? What do you actually do with that? So we're going to talk about 3 things, and I know this isn't all of them. I'm just going to hit the high points, the 3 high points. So it could be the timing, it could be your marketing, it could be your price. Okay, it could be one of those 3. So let's go through this. It could be the time of year. For those of my more seasoned landlords, you might start to recognize that there is a bit of a rhythm in the year when you have tenants who are not in an emergency situation, because if something happens with a family member and they have to give notice, or their job transfers, or something completely unforeseen, uncontrollable, that's different, right? That's different. But when you kind of can see the rhythm of the year, when tenants tend to move around, they tend to move around not during Christmas, not during the weather, not during winter if you're in a snowy place. And they tend to be settled by the time school starts. And so in my history, I have seen tenants leave October, November, or January, February, but not in the middle of Christmas if they can help it, right? Not in the middle of winter if they can help it. And the other time of year that typically I've seen is that tenants will move in July, August, and then by Labor Day, especially if they've got children in school, they are settled and they want to be settled. They don't want to be moving in September or October. And so it could be the time of year. So right now, the time of year is Christmas, New Year's, in the holiday season. I have a vacancy right now that isn't renting, and I'm not panicking. I've got my marketing out. I understand what's going on. And when I got the proper notice from the tenant that departed, I said, it's probably going to sit empty until February. And I just have to budget for that and hope that it doesn't, but I can't panic. I'm not going to speed up my screening. That's not part of our show. And so The first thing, if your rental isn't renting, it might just be the timing of the year. Have a little patience. It's tough when you're still paying bills and mortgage and things like that when you don't have any revenue, but just be patient and get the right tenant in. It could just be the time of year. It could also be your marketing of the unit, right? Could be the marketing of the unit. So I've seen several. I mean, I'm on a lot of the Facebook forums. I'm on LinkedIn forums as well, and I see different questions and different things. And I also see lots of advertisements for units available all over the place, all over the North America, quite frankly. And some of them are doing right, and some of them I just go, oh my, that's not very inviting for a potential tenant of the caliber that you want. And so here's a couple of different ideas. You want to take a look at your pictures in particular, right? The pictures sell because it's sort of, a few seconds that a potential tenant is just going to take a look. Now, as an aside, let's just be honest here. In this housing market, sometimes tenants don't have a choice and they're just going to put their name out for every single thing they possibly can just because they don't have any other choice. However, that doesn't mean you don't want to market your unit properly. Remember, this podcast is all about what happens when your rental isn't renting, right? So even if you're in a very high demand area, why isn't your rental renting? It could be the pictures in your marketing, right? It could be the pictures in your marketing. So there's several things that you want to do. And so one of the first things that you want to do is you want to make sure that your pictures are taken on a sunny day and that both inside and outside the unit is orderly. I'm not saying perfectly clean. That's not what I'm saying. Orderly. If there is clutter, you try to put your back to the clutter, take a picture of what's not cluttered. Okay. There's all kinds of little tricks that you can also Google about marketing your unit and with pictures. One of the main things you can do is in the bathroom, clear the counter completely and close the toilet lid. I've seen lots of pictures of bathrooms in potential units that the toilet lid is up, and it little things like that can turn potential tenants off. And when your rental isn't renting, you want to have every bit of possible reason for a good tenant to contact you as possible, right? So it could be your marketing, could be your pictures, could be a bit of your wording. I'm going to do another podcast on how to write the marketing ad for your unit. So just keep in mind, it could just be your marketing. Okay. The other aspect and the big aspect that a lot of us are looking at now is it could be your price. It could be your price. So there's quite a few ways, and this is one of the questions that comes around on LinkedIn, Facebook, social media. I've even gotten emailed a couple times about how do I know what price I should put my unit at? Now, there's fair market price that you can use. And in fact, I've got a great, this is advertising. Hang on 2 seconds here. I've got a great way that you can look up your prices. Oh, it must be one of my links. That's okay. I'll put the link on there. So there is a way that for your area, especially if you're in the United States, you can look up what is fair market in, and it's usually House and Urban Development for the US, and then Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, CMHC for Canada. So regardless of where you are, before this episode airs, I will have those links up for you. And you simply put in your location, your province, your state, and then your city, and then it will say what is your unit size. And it's usually by bedrooms. Some of them are by square feet, and some of them are also by city. So you want to really drill down as much as possible in your fair market value areas. Now, is that the end all be all? No, that's what the government is recording is fair market value in your local area, whether you're in the US or in Canada. But the challenge there is if the demand is higher or the supply is higher, which will push the prices lower, that may not be the price that you put it at. So then what? Some of you are talking about you can use rentometer.com. Some of you can use comps in your area. And the way that you can get comps is if you've got a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit that is vacant or about to be vacant, then where are the other 2-bed, 1-bath units that are comparable in age, comparable in size, comparable in amenities? You don't want a brand new place with a pool if you have a duplex with, on a residential lot, right? You want to try to compare apples to apples as best as you can in age and amenities and size, right? You don't want to be the 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom and a 400 square foot 2-bedroom. That may not be the same. Also, you want to take into account whether or not pets are accepted. Pets, not emotional support animals or service animals. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking pets. But you want to take a look at what comparable units that match your vacancy as close as you can get it in your area, comps in your area are advertised for. Now, that doesn't mean that's what they're going for, but that will give you a better clue. So between fair market value report for your local area, whether you're in US and Canada, or comparable units in for what the advertisements are in other like amenities, like size, like bedrooms, like age, that kind of thing, that's easier for you to say, you know what, that's a newer unit, maybe that's a little more valuable, or I'm not including laundry in mine, so maybe I should list it a little less. But those are some ideas that will help you figure out your price. Maybe your price too high. Maybe you want to wait another couple weeks. Maybe you need to expand your marketing to include, maybe you just need to put an ad in the paper. And I've done that lots, right? Just put a little classified ad in the paper, drive it to either your phone or your website. But that goes back to your marketing. It could be any of those. So when your rental isn't renting, don't panic, landlords. Don't panic, because you don't want to get someone in there quickly that probably should be screened a lot more stringent than if you're panicking, right? Okay. So it could be either timing, marketing of the unit, pictures, maybe it's the ad, maybe it's where the ads are, or it could be your price. So here's your call to action. Your call to action is take a look at some of your unit pictures. Take a look at the pictures. If you've got a vacancy right now that's not renting, I challenge you, make sure your pictures are desirable. Go through and look at some of your pictures. Now, some of you might be saying, but wait a minute, Jen, my unit isn't vacant yet. I can't get inside and take interior pictures. Okay, and fair enough. But when you have that opportunity and the unit is vacant, or you have a nice sunny day, take more marketing photos. You want to make sure that you've got a portfolio of all your units and basically a marketing script for all your units that when it comes available, you basically cut and paste it into your ad, wherever you're putting your ads, right? So that's your call to action, is take a look at your photos and just regroup on, are they the best that they can be? I challenge you, there's probably not. There's probably a couple in there that you can change and you can do better. Okay, today's episode was all about when your rental isn't renting. Don't panic. There's lots of panicking going on right now on social media. Everybody just needs to be a little patient. Enjoy your Christmas and your New Year's. It will rent. Find the right renter, screen them properly. You'll do great. Let me know your comments and questions. You can email me at learn@mylifeasalandlord.com. And don't forget, comments and questions create next podcasts and resources. Speaking of resources, don't forget, on mylifeasalandlord.com, you get 2 free blackout bingo cards, which are actually kind of fun to help educate yourself. Join me for next week's podcast, episode 57, where I talk all about how to advertise without discrimination. Advertising without discrimination. I will see you there. Thanks.